minor technical delay there. Can anybody actually see that? No? No. Okay, we might have to huddle a little. I speak very quietly and I mumble in a British accent, so this is going to be great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about using content marketing to attract advocates and customers. And I know this is social media breakfast, but social media is a big component of content marketing. So we're going to branch out just a little bit, if you don't mind. So 3 things I want to talk about today: how content marketing works and how traditional marketing doesn't work, and 7 harsh realities of content marketing, and what you need to do instead, of what you might be doing right now. And these are the places you can find me. So thank you for the fantastic introduction. I don't have to big myself up. Despite the strange accent, I am Canadian. I was born here, but I was raised in England, and so it makes me have an interesting accent that you might not always understand. So do ask questions at the end, especially if you didn't get any of the whole thing. You can have the presentation, and I'll do you a one-on-one presentation maybe. But as just mentioned, I just joined Copyblogger, but the interesting thing is that I've kind of been informally working with Copyblogger for years, and they just made it official. I've got a job title now, but I'm still doing the same things I always did before. But enough about me. So who here likes being sold to? Raise your hand if you like somebody selling to you. Anybody? Anybody? No? Because if you look at the traditional way things are sold, companies behave like we all like to be sold to. And the technical jargon term for that is interruption marketing. So that sounds like a really customer-centric way to do things. I know you're interested in this TV show, but I want to tell you about my Jif lemon liquid. I want to tell you about my pottery. Enough of it, you know, you're watching American Idol and you've got an hour's worth of adverts. Actually, in the show, they're holding up Coca-Cola logos, they're doing things with Ford. And that's because attention is the world's most scarce resource, because everybody's vying for attention. And, okay, advertising still does work, but it's getting less and less effective all the time because we're resistant to it. We've got built-in BS detectors. We don't want to be sold to. We want the stuff that we want. And as the phrase goes, we like to buy, we don't like to be sold to. So what do you do instead? So if you look at the sales cycle, the buying cycle, it starts with awareness, moves to interest, you make a decision, and then you take action. Traditional marketing, traditional advertising is very good at raising awareness. It's okay at developing interest, not very good at making a decision, and in terms of taking action, probably ineffective is the best way of looking at it. We're not particularly persuaded by sock puppets in the Super Bowl. And Pets.com spent millions trying to get attention for something nobody wanted. So raising awareness is still advertising's main job. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using social media in the same way that advertisers use traditional media. You go onto Twitter, get all excited, send a million links, and then say, social media doesn't work. And that's because we're interrupting still. We're trying to barrage people with our messages. We're trying to say, listen to me, me. It's all about me. Which is kind of ironic for somebody standing in front of you with a microphone, but go with me. And we don't actually believe in advertising. One of the big problems advertising has is that BS detector is redlining the whole time. If somebody says something in a TV advert, we don't believe it. And how many times do we see adverts that seem kind of interesting, but they've got small print at the bottom that says, this is not a real customer, this is an actor. You know, they're supposed to be people like us, but the teeth are too good. They've got shiny faces, their hair's done just right. And they're saying all the things that really we don't believe a word of it. And the more they try to come across as natural and human and just like us, the less effective it becomes, because we know they're trying to manipulate us. Who here researches purchases online? The last time you bought a car, did you go to the showroom and ask to talk to a salesperson before even looking at what they'd got? Salespeople are becoming less and less useful in the sales process, which is awful for the salesperson. But for the rest of us, we're being empowered. The cartoonist Scott Adams calls it a confusopoly, where if something's very complicated, then the company has got an advantage over the consumer in that they have to talk to a salesperson. My friend was just looking to buy a house, and the salesperson in the show home wouldn't give her a spec sheet, so she couldn't do comparisons between the different houses she was looking at. He would not give her the specifications of the house she wanted to buy. So this is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of purchase, and she didn't know what she would be buying. How is she supposed to make a decision? She's one of these super analytical people that makes a spreadsheet about everything she buys. She knows the miles per gallon of the car that she's looking at. And she couldn't compare. She couldn't compare because the salesperson wouldn't give her the information. So salespeople are actually getting in the way of the sales process now. And we don't like to be sold to. We don't like to be telephoned at home. We don't like the door being knocked on when we're just about to eat. But even when we walk into stores, usually we know what we want to buy. If you're going to Best Buy, looking at an iPod, you don't want the salesperson telling you the comparison. You just want to go get it, check out, and leave. And that's why Amazon is making a killing, because you can do all your research, you can look at the reviews, and then you can check out, don't have to talk to anybody. And I'm super, super shy. I'm the world's biggest introvert. The reason why I do this is because then people introduce themselves to me after the talks. I don't have to go around introducing myself. So when a salesperson approaches me, it's like that scene from Jaws where you see the fin. They start walking towards me this way, and I start walking this way. So I love the internet world. If I could, I would stay inside the whole time. So salespeople are becoming checkout people. You only need them for the transaction. So the buying cycle has compressed down to, I know exactly what I want, and I've made my decision, just get out of the way. And sales actually happen in our heads before they happen with our credit cards. And a lot of salespeople don't realize that. They think it's about, I'm standing in front of the thing, sorry. A lot of salespeople think it's all about persuasion, but actually we make the decision in our heads. So it's about giving people the tools to make that decision. It's not about persuading people, it's about making the decision easy for people, whether it's a yes or a no. It's not about beating people over the head with your offer. And the more you do that, the less loyalty you're going to have, the less good word of mouth you're going to have, and the more damaged people will feel when it comes to transact. And one of the worst things is to get the short-term sale, but build a bad feeling, a bad taste. Because then you get buyer's remorse. Then you get people thinking, well, maybe this wasn't a good idea after all. So how does it work in the social media world? Content marketing. Even big companies like Coca-Cola are realizing that we don't care about them. We don't care about Coca-Cola. So they're trying to get into places that we do care about. So they're sponsoring polar bears, because some people think about the environment. They're on American Idol, as I said, and they're into music. People care about music, so Coca-Cola pops up. IKEA realized that even with the instructions, nobody understands how to put their furniture together. So they're doing videos. And then you've got smaller companies like the Fruit Guys. I don't know why I can't remember their name. The Fruit Guys. They're called the Fruit Guys, anyway. And they do recipes. They tell you how to make smoothies of the day and things like that. It's just random stuff about fruit. Because fruit is not that exciting a subject. But people want to know what to do with it, especially if they want to force feed the kids some more fruit. So content allows you to attract awareness. Instead of interrupting people, attract people. Build awareness, build visibility. So we talk about know, like, and trust in social media. Know is visibility, it's awareness. As you develop a relationship, then you can build somebody's interest. You can help them make a decision. You can give them all the information they need to make a decision, but also you can put it in context, make what you do relevant to them, and then they're going to take action. So how does social media fit in with content? Content is the bread and butter of social media. So when I said people were making a mistake sending links out all the time, yes, you do need to have content, because content is the engine that drives all of this. And if you're going into social media and all you're doing is aggregating other people's content, if you're curating, then you're not going to build any authority. You're not going to build as much credibility as if you come up with things yourself, or if you have at least an opinion. So you need to start creating some content. But it's not just about social media. The search engines also want content. And who uses search engines? Human beings, your potential customers. If you combine good SEO, good social media, and great content, then you're going to succeed. And the really cool thing is, all it costs you is some time. TV advertising, as we know, is super expensive, and it may be beyond the reach of your budget. Even if it is within the reach of your budget's going to stretch a lot further if you actually have people want to come to you instead of you going to them and beating them over the head with your messages all the time. So it's a nutritious peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Isn't that awesome? But this is where it gets really cool. When you buy media, you have to pay for that exposure. You have to pay to get in the way of people. You have to pay to turn up on the TV. You have to pay to turn up on the radio. And every time you want to send a message out, you have to pay again. If you add the secret sauce of permission into this, then not only have you got people who want to hear from you, they want to hear from you over and over again. So in terms of being top of mind and all those nice marketing jargony things, in terms of visibility, they're saying, okay, I want to hear from you. So on the loosest and least commitment type place, we've got a Twitter follow, we've got a Facebook like. That's permission to communicate. So when my wife went on to The Voice and American Idol and said, I like this, all of a sudden her Facebook was full of these messages from American Idol and The Voice, and for some reason she likes that. She thinks it's a good thing. Once you've got permission, you can then properly, truly engage, and you can start building a relationship, and that's when the like and trust comes into know, like, and trust. Know is just awareness. So I've raised my know with you a little bit by standing in front of you and waffling for, I don't know how long I've been talking. But it's a bit early to say whether you like and trust me. I hope a little bit by the end. But it's a process that takes time. In traditional media, they said you would have to hear a message between 7 and 10 times. That's showing your advert multiple times beyond that, because you don't know when people are going to be sitting down. The times when the whole family would sit down in front of a TV show are diminishing by the day. How many people here record the TV that they watch? Watch it later. time shifting, PVRs. I still call it taping or recording, even though it's a little digital box. I call music records, so I think I'm just old-fashioned. It's very rare for the family to sit down all at the same time, so that mass market Super Bowl kind of event is getting scarcer and scarcer. So what you have to do is, when you get that awareness, when you get that visibility, you make a proposal to the audience. You say, this is why you should opt in. This is what I will do for you. This is what you'll get. And then you can build a relationship. And then you can build the like and trust. So the like comes from telling stories. It comes from telling stories that people care about. And that's how you can start building the advocacy. That's how you can start building the like and the trust. Because people aren't going to give good word of mouth about you, to use another horrible jargon phrase. People aren't going to say nice things about you unless they like and trust you. Because their reputation is on the line. Even something as small as a retweet, as small as a share, you're saying, I agree with this and I stand by that person's statement. So if you then turn around and do something horrible, that damages their reputation because they spoke out on behalf of you. So you've got to build that know, like and trust. It's not just enough to be visible anymore, because we're all cynical. We're all starting to get very suspicious of people who are sending messages to us. And the whole spam craze has moved on to social media. How many people have been sent a direct message that they didn't want to be sent? The spammers are taking over. The phishers and the hackers and the crackers and the horrible people are taking over. So the bar has been raised. The know, like and trust bar has been raised. Any spammer can come online and start sending thousands of tweets every day saying, follow me because I'm awesome. But who's going to actually take action? You know them, but you don't want to know them. So you get your permission, start building engagement, and then you can say, here's something you might want to try. Here's something to do. If you do this, then this will happen. That's a call to action. So don't leave it to people to work out the actions they should take. Encourage people to take actions and tell them the consequences, what will happen afterwards. And that's how you help people make a decision and take action. But you've still only got a little bit of permission. Then you have to deepen the relationship. So with content, what you can do is, over time, you can build the trust. You can give people valuable information. You can give people entertainment even. Give people something that's going to have meaning and relevance to them. That's going to keep them coming back. And as they keep coming back, as they keep getting rewarded for paying you attention, that's when they become a convert. So that's not just about getting sales. You could be in a non-profit. Non-profits have competition just like companies do. Because where you're going to donate your time and your money is a highly competitive field. If you tell stories that people can get involved in and care about, that's when you're going to actually get people to be motivated and inspired. And that's when you get advocates. But you have to nurture your advocates. People who say nice things should be lavished attention. Give them a hug if you have to. But if they're going to say nice things about you, that's exactly what you want. And one of the biggest mistakes I see companies make is they don't reward people for doing the nice things that you ask for. And that's why their audiences don't grow, and they have to spend more and more effort and money to get people to take notice of them. Instead, if you actually nurture people, then they're going to bring friends. They're going to clone themselves. If every one of your customers tells one more person, then that's going to grow your audience. If every person tells 2 people, then you've got a compounding effect. And you've got to remember, you can only hold the attention for so long. So if you're losing as many people out the back door as you're getting in the front door, then you're going to stay on a plateau. You want to grow it by building these advocates, by giving people rewarding information and interactions. So the summary of the first part is don't interrupt, engage. So engage is a horrible jargony word. It just means be a person, talk to people. And if you're a bigger company, have representatives who do the engagement. It's not rocket surgery. As one of my cliches is, common sense is seldom common practice. But what we see online all the time is people not being human beings. They think, I have to be on message. What's the message today? Instead, interact with people, be a human being, and be open to that interaction. But it's not all rainbows and unicorns. So what's the downside? The first downside is most content sucks. Most content sucks, the big one. And unfortunately, content is seen as being a cheap commodity. Good content is not a cheap commodity. You can't get good content at $10 an article. And there's a lot of software out there that claims to repurpose your content. Human beings aren't fooled by it, but they reckon that the search engines might be. Well, Google just put a stop to that. So content is about giving people something that is not going to be a waste of their time. If somebody reads your article and says, oh, well, that's 20 minutes of my life I'm never getting back, that's not going to persuade anybody. It's not going to do any good for you at all. It's not about shoveling buckets of content out to your audience and thinking that's going to do the trick. It's not about stuffing the search engines with your keywords. So write content that's going to make a difference. Help people. It's a funny concept, I know, but go with me. You know, actually be helpful. Actually find out what people want and need and give it to them. The second harsh reality is content does not promote itself. So while content is king, without people pointing at the king and saying, that's the king, he's just a guy in a funny hat. Putting out the world's best content as the world's biggest secret is not going to help anybody either. So you have to promote it. And the first step to promoting your content is, again, engaging with people. At networking events like this, online, social media networking, become a useful person in whatever market or niche you're in, and people are going to warm to you and they're going to want to help you and want to share your content. Remember, it's know, like, and trust. And you can't do it all on your own. No blog is an island. If you try to do everything on your own, you're just going to get burnt out and bitter and make poor jokes like I'm doing. So instead, be entertaining, instructive, and useful. Again, it's common sense, but it's not common practice. And if you can, give interesting headlines. Now, there's a lot of headlines that are becoming cliches, but they still work. If you go to the magazine aisle when you're checking out at the supermarket, have a look at magazines like Men's Health and the Cosmopolitan, and they use headline formats like 10 best ways to. I bought a magazine the other day because I want to have a bikini body for this summer. I'm going to be strutting my stuff in my mankini, and I'm going to look awesome because I can have rock hard abs in 10 weeks. My unitard will never look so good. They work. These headlines work. Copyblogger's got a long list of them. There's lots of articles about headlines. My advice to you is look at the magazines and the articles that make you take notice and look how they're formatted. You can get 1,000,001 content ideas and headline ideas just by looking at what you take notice of and making a note of the formula that they've used. So numbers work, specificity, I can't even say the word, being specific works. So instead of saying increase your sales by lots, say increase your sales by 101%, 173%. Being specific works, numbers work, top 10 lists still work even though everybody complains about them. But most of all, be entertaining, instructive, and useful. But what's the point if you don't actually get the results that you wanted? So we talk about return on investment, and a lot of the time we talk about how social media is difficult to measure, or social media has no return on investment, or social media is awesome for its return on investment. At the end of the day, you want people to take action and do stuff. How do you get people to do stuff? Well, first of all, you tell people what to do. Secondly, you tell people why they would take that action, why they should care. 3, you make it easy. And 4, you follow up. Again, it probably sounds like common sense, but how many times have you been to a website or even been to an article and you're left at the end hanging? What do I do now? What do I do next? How can I even get in contact with this person? Does this person have a name? Make it easy for people. Make it obvious. So here's a harsh reality that's close to my heart. You can't control the conversation. I can't control what you are going to say about me afterwards. I hope it's going to be nice things. Probably not. There's a feeling in social media that if you just engage a little bit more, then everybody's going to be super nice. But unfortunately, half the people who are following you because they want to criticize. And the more visible you become, the harder it becomes for them to screw up the laptop. The harder it becomes for people to stand the sight of you. There's a thing called the tall poppy syndrome. The tallest poppy is the one that gets its head chopped off. So as you increase your visibility, as you try to engage people, you're going to get some enemies as well as friends, and you can't control the conversation. You can't control what people say. All you can do is give absolutely the best customer service that you possibly can, even when you're in the right. You have to be very careful that they feel they've had a good experience. And you can try to control the venue. You can give people a place to air their grievances where A, you're going to hear, and B, you can do something about it. So that's a good a reason as any to be in social media, because they're going to tell you when they've got a problem. They're going to tell you when they perceive they might have a problem in future. They're going to tell you when they don't like your haircut. I get that all the time. Chris, you're looking fat. Oh, thank you. What do I do with that? But at least they're telling me, rather than saying, hey, have you seen that Chris is looking fat? You know, you can do something about it. In my case, go and cry over a beer. If you have a place where people can complain and bitch and moan, then you're going to know about it, you're going to be able to do something about it, and you can stop it before it gets out of hand. The worst thing when people have a grievance is to feel like they're not being heard. If they feel like they're being ignored, that's even worse. So not having a place to talk to, or having a telephone line that you have to wait 45 minutes while listening to music, that's bad enough. But then when they tell you there's a problem and you don't do anything about it, then that's even worse. So you can't control the conversation, but you can control where it happens to an extent. So number 5, most of us know that Google is a fickle beast. And just recently they changed the goalposts again. Some people won, some people lost. And what Google tries to do is, as much as possible, they try to replicate what a human being thinks. And when the robots take over, I think it's Google that's going to be leading the charge. They're automating everything, which means that they have some false positives. It means that they might think that your content is crud, even when it's the world's best, juiciest content you've ever seen. And that's because of reputation. Google pays a lot of weight to what people say about you. They also have trust issues. They don't want to trust you. You have to earn that trust. And what you need to do is be seen as being part of a good neighborhood. So instead of being part of a neighborhood where there's crack dealers on every corner, in a virtual sense, you want to be in the nice neighborhood with the well-tended lawns and pretty roses around the door. So in a virtual sense, what you need to do is become part of a good neighborhood. Get people to link to you, people who have already earned that trust. So instead of Bob's Cake Shop, you want to link from the CBC or from the BBC or CNN or any other acronyms. That's where PR has a really big part to play. If you can get into traditional media that's earned a reputation over the years, then Google, for better or worse, is going to trust you a little bit more. If you get links from really good organizations, popular organizations that are well trusted, that's going to give you a lot more credibility in Google's eyes. It's going to give you better rankings. If you pair that with really good content that earns links, earns shares, then you're going to do very well. So as I said before, the meat and the energy, the fuel of social media is content. Google is recognizing this. They launched Google+, which is the millionth try at social media. And they're taking account of how many likes you get on there, how many plus ones, they call them. They're taking into account how many times you reference in Twitter. They want to index Twitter and Facebook, but there's a little bit of competition there. Social media is going to be a big part of how you rank in the future, but right now it's all about the links. It's about having content that Google will see as good content, not spam, and the way you know that is if people are sharing it, so it's all cyclical. Harsh reality number 6. This is a beast that will never be full. You'll never fill the content beast. All you can do is try to keep up with it. Because the more you feed it, the bigger it grows. The more content you put out there, the more demand there is for good content. And you're trying to keep a pace with people who are putting out great content at the same time. You're competing for that attention. So my advice is to schedule time, set a time budget, or a financial budget, but a time budget if you're going to be creating the content. Set aside time to do the best you can to create the best content you can. Don't think you have to write an article every single day if that's unrealistic. I would always prefer people to do an article once every 2 weeks if it's going to be a really good article, a really good video, a really good piece of content. Because if you phone it in, then you're going to lose that attention that you've gained. People are going to say, this is a waste of my time. Stop putting out the mediocre stuff, I want to hear the good stuff. So write when you've got something good to say. Write when you've got something valuable to share, something that's going to be useful. Now, if you've got the time, of course, write every day. If you've got the time, have 10 websites, but who's got the time? Actually, at one time, I was writing for 12 different websites, and I nearly burnt myself out. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. So the last harsh reality, number 7, is the internet doesn't care about you or your company. They couldn't care less. But how many websites do you go to where there's a message from the chairman, where the colours have been chosen by the chairman's wife? She likes pink, so the website's pink, and it's aimed at 15-year-old boys. You have to make it about them. Make it about what they want, what they need. Stop talking about yourself unless it's relevant. So there needs to be a little bit about you. How can I help you? It's about them. It's not about you. The stories you tell should be relevant to them rather than just entertaining for you to tell. I could have made this presentation 101 Reasons Why Chris is Awesome. And I'm sending people to sleep already. Can you imagine how bad it would have been if it was just an awesome Chris presentation? So nobody cares about you. Make it about them. Everybody's favourite subject is what's between their own 2 ears. We are our own favourite subject. The more interested in them you are, the more interesting you'll become. Find out what people want to know. Give it to them. A, you'll show that you're interested, and B, you'll be giving stuff that's going to be of value. So the summary part 2 is WIIFM, everybody's favourite radio station. What's in it for me? It's not about what you do, it's about what they get. You are not a realtor. You're a person that helps solve house problems. You're not a drugstore. You're a place that's open late at night for the stuff that you forgot to get during the day. It's about what people get. It's the outcome. It's the result. It's the difference that you make to people. That's what they care about. You've got to be relevant to people. It's about what's in it for them. So the last section is, what should you do instead? I've said a lot about what you shouldn't do. What should you do? I don't know if you can see that, but there's a magnet, some duct tape, and a cash register. That's what you should do. You should attract, engage, and convert. So a conversion in this case, it could be getting somebody to be a volunteer for a non-profit, or it could be a cash transaction. Conversion is just somebody taking some action. It could be somebody liking your Facebook page, joining your newsletter, whatever. So attraction turns the tables. It makes you attractive rather than interrupting people. Instead of annoying people with your message, be a magnet. Be somebody or an organization that attracts people. That could be through people searching on Google. It could be people finding you in social media. It could be you being the most helpful person at social media breakfast. Whatever it is, attract people. And that's, again, about being relevant to them, about giving people what they want and need. And if you have to choose between want and need, want always trumps need. How many times have you seen a house where it looks like nobody's looked after the house in 20 years, but there's a big satellite dish on the roof? People are always willing to spend money and time and attention on what they want, not always so much about what they need. I still don't have a pension, and I'm nearly 40. I really should start thinking about it. I know I need a pension plan, but I don't have one. But I do have cable. But first you have to do some planning. And the first bit of planning is to think about who you want to attract. Who out there do you want to attract to your organization? Who can you most help? Who can you reach? What are your goals and what are their goals? What do you want to happen for you? What do they want to happen? So if you're a realtor, you want to sell houses because you want to get the commission, or you want to help people buy a house. What they want is they want to have a particular lifestyle. They want to be in a neighborhood, etc., etc., etc. So it's not just about what you want, it's about how that intersects with what they want. Have an editorial calendar. That takes some of the pressure away. If you have a plan in place, and it's an achievable plan, then you're not waiting until the last minute to try and think of an awesome content idea. You're not thinking about, what do I do this month? Where should I be? And part of that plan should be seasonal considerations. What is the big conference or exhibition or event in your marketplace that you have to prepare for? Do you have to prepare for things like Easter, Christmas, New Year's Day, that kind of thing? You don't want to be writing about ski season when you're in ski season, because Google's not going to pick that up in time. You need to be prepared. And it's not just written content either. Content marketing is about finding an audience that wants to hear from you and giving them some awesome content in person as well. So it could be speaking, it could be attending conferences, putting on workshops, putting on events. So Melrose in town could put on events. It could be anything from 35-cent chicken wings all the way through to a networking gathering. It's about gathering people and being valuable and useful to them. It's about trying to be the most useful person in the room. Trying. It's not about who you want in your network, it's about who wants you in their network. How can you make you a valuable person for people to connect with? And then there's things like audio, video, being interviewed. If you've got something valuable to share and you're going to be useful to other people's audiences, then make yourself available. Part of that know, like, and trust is for your personality to come across. If you're a larger organization, call it a brand. But there's still a personality involved. Let people hear you speak and see you speak. Let people understand that your sarcastic sense of humor is not meant to insult people, it's meant to make people smile. Let people get an idea of who you are. And all of this feeds into your search engine strategy. And no matter what Google does, what is always going to work, asterisk, maybe, relevant authoritative content. So that's just valuable content that's relevant to what people want and need, using the keywords that people are looking for. So Google's not a search engine, it's an answer engine. People put questions into Google to get answers. If you've got the best answer, then you should rise to the top. You need to get people to link to you, but not just from anywhere. Don't buy links. If you're going to buy links, then you're setting yourself up to be penalized. But if there's ways of getting links that you earn, a press release could generate links. Sponsoring a local organization could get you links. Getting into the media could get you links. There are other ways other than purchasing them. And anchor text, the bit that people click on, don't say click here every time you create a link to your own content. Click here actually does get clicks, but it doesn't tell Google what your content's about. So use the keywords sparingly in that link. Now, Google's latest algorithm change, they just changed the rules a little bit in that they've got this over-optimization penalty. So if every time somebody links to you, they use the same word over and over and over again, then that's going to be seen as not organic, not natural. So you do have to vary it, but the more people link to you with your most wanted keywords from really good places, and they have a lot of trust, that's going to carry over to you, you're going to get a lot of trust, and it's all going to be fantastic and awesome, and everybody live happily ever after. Oops. But don't let it look like advertising. The best advertising doesn't look like advertising. You know when some marketing material is really, really good. It's when people don't want to throw it away. So I'm a geek. I've been trying to avoid websites that have been talking about the Avengers because I've not been to see it yet. So as well as being a shy introvert, I'm also a massive geek. Who knew? And I've been collecting trailers and things for the Avengers because I've not been to see it yet. And I've been storing them away so that I can go watch it spoiler-free. That's advertising that I don't want to throw away. White papers, reports, videos, how-to guides. We get sent stuff all the time that we put into the spam, not spam pile. How many times have you been to the post box and gone through it? It's like, bill, advertising, advertising, bill, ooh. You want the ooh response, not the put it in the trash can response. So don't let it look like an ad. Have it create some good vibes, some value in people's lives. It should build trust. It should encourage sharing. So first of all, make it so that people can share it. Secondly, encourage people to share it. Tell people why they should share it. Tell people all the good things it'll do for them and their friends and their colleagues. Make it about what the audience, the prospect, really wants to know about. What's keeping them up at night? Talk about that. Don't talk about how awesome your new offices are. Nobody cares. Tell people what the benefits are and the advantages. So it's not enough just to be different. Nobody cares that I'm a geek. That's not an advantage to you. Nobody cares that I've got this mumbly British accent. That makes me different. It doesn't make me better. So you've got to tell people not just what the benefits are, how you're different, but tell people why that's a good thing for them. What's the and therefore? You don't want content that makes people say, so what? So imagine somebody's reading through your content saying, so what, so what, so what? Apart from making you want to slap them in the face, it'll make you put in your content reasons, justifications, proof, benefits. And lastly, overcome objections. So I had several objections about coming to social media breakfast. I was told it was going to snow, and I'm scared to death of driving in the snow. I've not been here very long. I'm a wimp. I don't have this big 4x4 truck, although I know why people drive them now. I'm shy and I'm an introvert, so this is terrifying for me, and I'm just happy that I've got all the way through it without fainting. You have to overcome objections. You have to try to anticipate what those objections are going to be. You're going to have a price objection. You're going to have the objection, it seems like effort. This seems like work. You're going to have objections like, can I trust you? Have you worked with people like me before? I believe you can help these people, but can you help me? Try to answer those objections in a way that's non-promotional, but that speaks to people and makes it relevant. And that's going to help people deepen the connection with you and take action. So, the summary of the last part is attract, engage, and convert. You've got to attract attention. That means going out where people already are, where they're already hanging out, and bring them back home. Create great content that people will want to share, find, consume, share again. And engage them. And engagement's not just a buzzword. It just means talking to people. It means being available for people to talk to. So we're just about to have a Q&A. Now, I can stand up here and look shy and shuffle my feet if nobody asks a question, but I hope you're going to have questions to ask. That's engaging. Otherwise, you're just broadcasting, which is what traditional media used to do. You can't get away with just broadcasting anymore. You have to be interactive, another horrible buzzword. And then convert, which is just give people things to do. What's the next step? Always, always have a next step. Don't assume people know what to do. So if you have a white paper, but there's no contact details, then how are people going to know what to do? You've got to educate people to go to a competitor. I have a free ebook on my website, and for ages people were saying, oh, that's a great ebook, and I said, thank you. And they would say, yeah, I've got lots of work from it. What do you mean? I haven't got lots of work from it. And it's because they were doing proposals for writing jobs, and they were sending the ebook to tell the customer why they need content and how good it'll be for them. And they were getting work off it. I wasn't. I didn't have a call to action in it. I didn't tell people, you know, if you want to hear more, then this is how to get in contact with me. And that's how you're going to get the return on investment. That's how things are going to happen. So that's the last bit of me speaking at you. Has anyone got any questions?
I do.
Thank goodness.
So a lot of challenges I hear from organizations are that either nobody's going to care about what they have to say because they're in an industry that's maybe not as sexy and exciting as the bar or restaurant industry. So how do you tackle creating content for maybe a more traditional, conservative industry when you're competing with cats that wear hats? Not that I've ever been there, but I've ever been there.
We all know all the cats. The first thing I would always do is go talk to your existing customers. If you've got absolutely zero customers, it's a lot harder, obviously. Then you have to spy on people. But if you've got warm-blooded human beings to speak to, talk to them and have a conversation and find out what's on their mind. In most industries, you're solving some sort of a problem. Even if that problem is boredom, you're solving some sort of a problem. So find out what that problem is in the language of your prospect or customer. And talk to your existing customers who are happy and say, okay, what difference did it make? What happened? Why did you find me? How did you find me? Talk to your unhappy customers. What could you have done better? And talk to your customers as well about things they don't care about. This is a bit of a trick that lots of people don't really think about. We have our own sense of priorities about what matters to our audience. They have a different set of priorities. And I actually learned this from a president of a cable company. They were emphasizing long-distance plans in their advertising, and it worked out what people really wanted was a better TV and internet package. They didn't really care about the telephone. In fact, most of them weren't using the landlines at all, or only in rare occasions. But their advertising kept on saying, best long-distance plan. Long distance. Don't get charged for going over your long-distance minutes. And nobody cared. So they're spending all this advertising money to tell people about something that nobody gave a hoot about. So if you find out what matters to your prospect, your audience, and then you're going to know the questions that they've got, and you just answer those questions.
Any other questions?
Or do you just want to get to the coffee and forget about me? That's also an option.
Can I ask one more? Really easy question. What about if you're in an organization and you buy into content marketing, but senior management or the C-levels, CEOs, CFOs, they don't see the value in it? How can you bridge that gap and show the value?
I wouldn't advise just stopping everything you're doing now. Keep doing what works. So even though things like TV, radio, magazine, advertising, they're on the decline in terms of effectiveness, they still do work. I used to work for an advertising agency, and part of the advertising agency was responsible for the TV stuff. I was part of the interactive and database and direct marketing, I call it the real stuff. And they spent more money on a prosthetic goat's head than the entire internet campaign. But we still had to have a return on investment. And they went to film a nightclub scene in LA because of the better light. It was going to be indoors, in the dark. Why did they have to fly this entire film crew over to LA? Because you can't get a film crew in LA, right? You have to ship one over from London. So they spent all this money on this TV advertising campaign. They didn't even put the URL at the end. But we still had to show return on investment. So the way you convince your powers that be is with results. Carve out the little bit of budget that they're willing to slip through their fingers and show some results and show the potential and build up over time. Don't go in there and say, we're going to slash your entire budget, this is what we're going to do instead. Do tests and then show some results and show the good stuff that comes up. And remember also, there's got to be some direct results, bottom line stuff, but also you can, if you've got some bottom line results, you can talk about the intangible stuff like, awareness and, warm fuzzy feelings and brand and all that.
Yeah, I have the same kind of challenge with our company because I know that Twitter's about conversation and I want to converse with people, but all management's like, no, we need to tweet content and, why are you retweeting people? This is FF and what are you doing? And I'm like, you have to do that. We're trying to get some more followers.
Yeah.
But, I want to show them the ROI. What kind of measurements do you think I should use? Because I don't really think flow is good. That's just...
Yeah.
I want to show the metrics and be like, look, we got 10, 20 followers today.
What you've got to do is, we know you've got to have conversations, and one of the things is, I think in corporate business they call it hygiene factors. One of the things you have to have is to not look dirty. So if somebody looks at your Twitter feed and it's just link, 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 then who's going to pay any attention to you? You look like a feed. So one of the things that you have to do is not look like a feed. So it's not about measurement or getting return on investment from the engagement necessarily, it's not looking like a spammer. But beyond that, I'll give you another realtor story because I think everybody's familiar with what a realtor does. A friend went to look at $1 million house, and she was nervous about taking that step with moving up in the housing ladder. And so she went to a show home where the person was sitting on the front doorstep, smoking a cigarette and drinking a Slurpee. And she didn't even get out of the car because she said, if that's how they treat people, if that's the impression that they're giving, I'm not even going to step over the threshold. And so she tweeted the company and said, do you realize, this is bad. She didn't get a reply. She didn't get a single reply. She went to the feed, and this person who was running the Twitter account was replying to everybody else, but she didn't reply to this. She was only replying to the good stuff. She was actually retweeting praise around when this person tweeted the complaint. And she was just saying, it's a heads up. She wasn't saying, you're horrible people. She just said, it's not the impression you want to give. So the return on investment for, if she'd have calmed down and, turned around and said, oh, come back and I'll treat you well, give us another chance, that was $1 million sale. So, the return on investment would have been $1 million revenue. I don't know how much they actually get, but it's a lot of money. So they lost a lot of money because of a Slurpee. So that's the kind of thing you can look at as well. It's like, it's not just attracting people, it's retaining them. How many people have seen a cable company or a cell phone company offer new people a better deal than they're getting? And then when you call up, they say, oh no, that's just for new people. So engaging people's retention as well as direct bottom lines.
Cool. One more question.
So if you were in the process of going about developing a social media strategy, what period of time would you say is realistic for a listening period before you actually start communicating?
So I think you should always be listening, but so how long should you spend in the listening phase before you engage? I think you should always be listening, and part of listening is actually starting the engagement. So people will tell you surface level stuff, but you have to drill down. And one of the most powerful questions you can ask is why. So what's important to you? I want traffic. Why? Because my boss needs it. Why does your boss need it? Because we have to get more sales. Why does your boss want to get more sales? Because he wants to get his quarterly bonus so he can buy his yacht. If you drill down into the why, then you get to the real stuff. And in my business, I see that a lot because people say, I want traffic, but really they want customers. And then I find out, actually, they're overwhelmed with customers they've got. They want to be more profitable. So if I started dealing with the symptom that they talked about initially, which is I want more traffic, we wouldn't get to the root. We wouldn't get to the thing that's actually keeping them up at night. So you have to listen, but you also have to question. You have to ask why. You have to dig deeper. It's not just about what people say on the surface. So it's like my wife liked The Voice, and I thought it was because of the music. Turns out she fancies Blake off of The Voice. So, the music was a bonus. My daughter thinks of McDonald's as a place where you get a toy and you get a free burger with it. So it's not just about what people say, it's also the real underlying motivations. And if you can understand those and show that you understand those, you're going to win. Because other people will be dealing with the surface level stuff, they'll be dealing with the symptoms. If you can dig down to the cause and the real motivations, then you can have an advantage, and people are going to see you as a lot more valuable to them.
Cool. I want a hand for Chris Garrett.
Just a minor technical delay there. Can anybody actually see that? No? No? Okay, we might have to huddle a little. I speak very quietly and I mumble in a British accent, so this is going to be great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about